Fume, fume, fume la cigarette. Fume, 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 même si ça te fait du tort. C'est tous les non-fumeurs qui veulent de la bonne heure. C'est eux autres qui devraient aller dehors. That's all you're getting for
That's
Saturday
all I'm
morning.
getting?
That's all you're getting. Yeah.
I didn't understand a single word, Fred.
Oh. That's the whole point. I'm gonna sing in French, so probably 98% of people can understand. But that's the best way.
Welcome back, man. Good
Thank
to
you.
see
Thank you.
It's been how long?
It's been so the last time I was here was in October, mid-October. So it's been almost a whole year.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, thanks for having me back.
No, welcome back. Anybody that's been on, well, I can't say that. No, sorry. Not everybody's welcome back on the show.
Okay.
But majority of people are more than welcome to come back on the show.
Yeah.
But no, it's great to have you back, and we're going to continue the conversation about timber framing and
Yeah,
stereotomy
exactly.
and all kinds of stuff like that. So I know you've got some new ideas and new thoughts and new things that happened in the last year.
Definitely.
And we still display, and you brought some new ones now, which is great.
I brought some new ones. So my old one is here. This one was a bit simpler. And for the people who are only listening, I brought in 2 new roof model that I've been doing with the course that Patrick Moore is offering, the Stereotomy Level 2. So those ones, for the people who are watching on YouTube, shout out, keep it up, keep it up. They're pretty complicated, even though they look kind of simple.
Man. You're being nice about it. I'm looking at even the smaller one, and just the connection points there, the joinery. I was like, the lower level there, getting into that corner there, like holy cow. So you were saying off mic just before we got started, how many hours on these models?
Well, it's probably the drawing takes. I'm kind of slow on the drawing because the more you kind of develop the drawing, like if you make one mistake from the beginning, then the whole drawing could be compromised.
Okay.
So I really take my time, blah, 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 blah. It's about probably, it's easily, it can add up to 20 hours. Yeah. And I'm doing, all the joinery is cut with a handsaw because the compound angle are way over. Yeah. It's way over 50, way over 45. And also just by the time you set up, just your tools, the chop saw, finding all the angle.
You create a jig or something.
Yeah, create a jig. You're in 30 minutes, where me with a small Japanese saw, it's, one cut could take 2 minutes. So then again, if I had to do lots of those, I would set up jigs.
Of course.
But for one, a chisel and a Japanese saw goes a very long way.
Okay, we're gonna dive in deep because I love this.
Okay.
I love this topic. I love this subject matter. This is amazing. Quick shout out to the Luso boys and the tile work that they do. Great. And
awesome.
Actually, it was nice that I saw Matt last night. He was there briefly for a little cigar to get together that we had, which was great. And to Jason, thank you for setting that up. And Phil was there. Dom was there. Saskia was there. So lots of people were there. And we didn't videotape anything. We didn't take any pictures.
Oh, really?
We were off the grid.
Oh,
nice. We were just old school doing a nice little get together, and we were actually talking, chilling out and just talking.
Awesome.
So just shout out to them. That was all good. And now we've got Fred back. So you want to share your deets, which is Fred. I'm trying to remember.
Fred Seal Carpentry on Instagram.
That's it. Fred Seal. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then where else?
That's it really.
Patrick's been busy.
Yeah, I'm assuming. Yeah.
I'm assuming he's been busy. A lot of guys have been watching his show, and then they're trying to reach him, and then they can't reach him, and then they're asking me if I can try to reach him. And then I try to reach him, and then he's not responding, so I can only assume that. But I see his posts, so his classes are growing. Right?
I know. He just posted something yesterday for a spiral staircase class.
Yeah, I saw that.
And wow, crazy. So yeah, if people want to go on Instagram, find him. His name is the Stereotomist on Instagram. And make sure you have an hour to kill because
it's a rabbit hole that you want to go down.
It's a rabbit hole that you really want to get into. You'll look back at the clock and be like, damn, I just wasted my whole morning looking at this stuff.
I know, but the most experienced framer will look at it and go, how?
Yeah,
how?
exactly.
How, right?
And if the how is what kind of drives me. It's like, well, if somebody can do it, I'm assuming I can too. Yeah.
Fred, what's the basic difference between you today and you a year ago?
Well, for one, more stereotomy. Challenging, exactly. Challenging, but it's kind of, I call it, a millimeter a day of progression. And during a year, it adds up to all these things.
Ain't that the truth? Huh?
Yeah. But actually, before we get into the stereotomy.
You drive the boat on this, man.
Yeah. Like I said, I have a few notes I want to take care of. The last time I was here, we were talking about the big timber frame temple that I was working on. Exactly. The peg is still there. So we've been working on this for the last year or two. Right now, we're just taking a break, waiting for the huge order of siding to finally show up. And
Sorry to interrupt, but if I was going to, let's say, do a little road trip
yep,
in about 3 weeks, 4 weeks maybe.
we'll probably be there, or there's a good chance we'll be there by then.
Okay, well, we'll talk after.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
I
great.
might actually
Yeah.
make my way out there
Yeah,
to actually
okay.
see it, which would be kind of cool. So sorry to interrupt, but okay, continue.
Okay, yeah, and so we raised the timber frame. That was, experience of a lifetime, definitely.
How many guys?
Well, for the raising, so we were actually just 3 guys. So two guys, so me and my team lead. Shout out actually Justin Edge from Greenbill Homes.
yeah.
He's our lead timber framer, and he worked at Gibson Timber Frame and all these big timber frame outfit. That's actually a guy you should have on.
No, I'd love to get him on.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure if he's gonna come. He's more like an artist, introverted type of guy. But if we can convince him to come here, he's gonna blow everybody away with his knowledge.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, anyways, him as the lead, me as like the meathead who does things that he's being told.
Hammer.
Me as the hammer, and then we had one guy in the telehandler, just rocking the machine, and without those 3 person, like let's just say that the guy on the telehandler decide he's not listening or whatever. Like you really need
You got to have focus.
you got to have focus on all 3 aspects.
Okay.
Yeah, because like I said on the last podcast with timber frame, there is no margin for error. Like we're talking millimeters for a piece that's 40 feet. So we worked on this, and then we enclosed the whole building, that's another challenge in itself, because you need to have, when you build a timber frame, for those listening who don't know, you build a frame, but you essentially have to build another house on top of it. And then from there come, the challenges of passing the plumbing, the electrical, the insulation.
You got modern conveniences.
Yeah, modern conveniences. So actually that was kind of interesting and challenging, because for me, I'm more interested in just building a timber frame and then, moving on and let other people take care of it.
I mean, technically, though, historically, do you really need the modern technology there? Because the timber frames were designed to
Building code.
Well, I know the building code aspect of it, but
Yeah.
the thing is, like in theory, if you've got a large enough fireplace, you can heat,
Yeah, oh, definitely.
right?
Because before if you look at the old timber frames in Europe, it was essentially just like, timber frame and clay walls or something, and then just like I'm assuming it's straw, or it's like a straw roof.
Yeah, it
for
has to
England.
be.
And that was it. Big fireplace, and that
That's
was it.
But now
Yeah.
you've got to. So does it kind of bother you guys that you build this amazing timber frame, and now you got to put another skin around it?
Kind of,
Okay.
because, like you said, you don't. Well, if you want to keep the timber frame appearance, you kind of have to in a way, because you don't want to enclose the nice. You don't want to enclose those nice space where you can see the exposed timber, like your post in your corner, where you can see the whole, 8x8 or 6x6 or whatever. If you enclose that with 2x4, then it's kind of like.
But it's
what's
like
the
you
purpose?
guys do the work on all the sides of the timber frame.
Yeah, we do.
And then you lose one side automatically
Yeah.
to modern conveniences, right?
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It is, it is what it
okay.
is. Yeah. But it was really interesting to work on it and to kind of learn that aspect, because like I said, it wasn't really something that interested me, but it needed to be done. And it's not easy. If you want to build, like a lot of people are kind of interested in timber frame because, it's old, it's strong, and it kind of brings like a romantic aspect of it. And a lot of people have like messaged me who are not carpenters, and they're like, oh, I want to build, a chalet beside the lake or something, and I want to build a timber frame. And I'm like, building the timber frame is not hard. It's also not easy. But then what comes in after is the challenging part, which is really wrapping the frame, making sure, it's being brought up to the building codes. So it's doable, but it's not easy. You really have to think things through, because you're essentially building like 2 houses.
Are you
almost.
guys already thinking building code and all these other details that you have to comply with when you're already dressing and getting everything prepared? You're already at that point, the starting point, right?
When you're cutting the frame, not really, but before, like you want to have your foundation wider so you can put, a 2x6 wall or a 2x4.
Yeah.
It's all those little things that you need to think of before. When you're cutting the frame, I'm not thinking of like, oh, there's going to be an outlet in that bend. I'm not thinking of that. But before, you really have to make sure everything is ready. So then when you build in those, commodities to the building code, then it makes sense. Yeah.
So the temple that you're working on that's nearly completed, what was the original timeline on that was given to you guys?
I'm not sure. I wish I could say it.
Because I don't even think on the last show that you were on, you really gave us an end date. It was
no
certainty there.
Yeah, because the monastery that we're working on, it's their new meditation hall, so they don't live in the building. So really, and it all works through donation. So there was like phases. So the phase 1 was building, the foundation, the next sem walls. Then phase 2 was the timber frame. Phase 3 was enclosing, and it's more like how much money, because the monks, they can't work, so it's all brought up through donation.
Wow.
Private donation, and some of them are like a lot of money. Like a lot comes in from the Thailand embassy in Ottawa. I've actually met the ambassador at the job site. Yeah. They came.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was pretty cool. So a lot of donation coming from Thailand, but also a lot of donation coming from people in the area, which is funny. It's cool. So yeah, there's not really an end date. It's more like okay, now we have the money for phase 1, 2, 3. Let's get going. Okay, it all works well. Okay, now we're getting ready for phase 5, which would be the exterior finishes. That's been ordered, and in the meantime, we have other small projects on the go. So if there's a pause at the temple, we work on other projects.
Over there,
Yeah.
How was it? Were you guys working through the winter months as well?
Yeah.
Okay, and how was that challenging?
It wasn't bad. It actually wasn't a bad winter.
No, I think we had like 3 storms or something. It wasn't really a difficult storm.
There was a lot of snow, but we were working on the roof for quite a long time because, once again, when you build a timber frame, there needs to be, like I said for like the 5th time today, it needs to be brought up to modern standard.
Yeah.
So on the roof, you have those nice exposed Douglas fir rafter, and on top of it comes like this huge amount of like framing. So layer number 1, there's a strapping 2x4, then membrane, then the plan called for just like the IJOs to go on top of the membrane. But because we were going to be climbing up there, my boss said no, like everybody's going to step through those nice German membrane. Yeah. So we did another layer of like 2x4 on top of it to sandwich it, but also to give us like something to step on. So we did that. But then the building is it's 94 feet with the eaves. So it's very long. So, and it's a 50-degree slope that's spanning 34 feet. So if you do the math, it's a big portion of roof. Like it's almost, each rafter was 26 feet, I think. So you're framing this 26 by 94 feet roof. So quite a lot of area to cover.
Yeah.
So just strapping one portion of the roof, that's almost your whole day, too.
What are they finalizing the roofing material with?
So it was sheet metal.
What are they going to do metal?
Yeah, it's on right now.
Yeah,
it's on right now.
Yeah, because it's protecting everything.
Yeah, exactly. So it was 2 layers. So 2x4 membrane, 2x4 I-joist, then 1/2-inch plywood, membrane, 2x4 on its edge to create like a ventilation space.
Yeah.
Plywood once more, a nice membrane, like kind of like a nice ice and water shield.
Or something like that. Yeah.
Ice and water shield for the first few feet.
Yep.
Then like a nice like thick Suprema membrane. Then the sheet metal. So
So when you guys, the team, like these are timber frame architects, timber frame engineers, like they're specialty people.
Yeah.
You can't just pull somebody from an urban and just go, here, we're going to build a timber frame and we need an architect, we need an engineer. No, they've got to have some experience.
Not really, unless they're interested in that space or unless they've had previous experiences.
Different mindset.
Different mindset too. Like you can't bring in someone who says like, oh, instead of those nice exposed rafter, we're just going to put a truss system. Not what we're after, you know. So yeah, there needs to be, and you cannot, I kind of hate to say this, but you kind of need to bring in carpenters too, who are interested in that aspect, who have experience, because once again, like you can't go at it cutting your timber with just like a skill saw that's falling off the roof framing and it's not balanced and the blade is not the blade
It's
is
the same
dull.
thing with electricians and plumbers.
Yeah,
and HVAC.
exactly.
You got to bring everybody in that's conscious of the work that was already set up.
Yeah, yeah,
You can't just be butchering it, right?
yeah. And actually, for the temple, I just posted a picture of where it's at right now on Instagram.
Yep.
And you can see essentially everything. So the porch are finished. I also posted my favorite portion of the building right now for the exterior finishes, which is the bottom of the roof has like a curved element, kind of like a flare, like those temple in Thailand.
Yeah, no, I remember seeing this. You posted this on
Instagram.
When
Yep.
was it? Start of the week, I think.
Yeah,
it was.
start of the week.
Yeah, so you guys are already prepping all the walls for the cladding. So you have the
Yep.
strapping on board. That's a big roof, man.
It's huge. Essentially, just like a massive roof. Yeah.
That's a steep roof too.
Yeah, 50 degrees.
And then you got skylights up there as well too.
Yeah, yeah. That was pretty.
Fixed? They're fixed. Or they're motorized.
Fixed.
They're fixed, eh?
Yeah, fixed. And it's a nice like skylight. You push there's like a remote. You push a button and then it, opens up. There's I'm pretty sure there's also a button where you push and it can kind of like control how much light is entering the building.
Yeah, so they have blinds or what have you on.
Yeah,
it.
yeah, exactly.
Which is very cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, not only like even the soffit, the overhangs, like you're.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so the
exposed,
detail, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So exposed rafter tails, and that was cut from a 3x10 piece of pine. And that was my job for right after the Christmas break. I cut all of those with a skill saw, then sanded, then doing the round over with the router. That was pretty fun. Like those kind of tasks are what I like to do.
Well, it's
Anything
nice
with curves and
I'm looking at this going, you're connecting old with new because the tails are actually
Yeah.
coming off of the building code requirement of the roof, right? With the airspace, right?
Exactly.
So, and then how are you securing the two together?
So the 2x4 cleats essentially that were on the edge.
Yeah.
We were just slapping them together. I got a picture where you can see, I think I got a picture where you can see where they meet.
I see the picture where they meet, they're connected. I just can't make out.
Oh, it's just screws. Yeah.
It's just screws,
yeah,
right?
It's
That's
just
all it
screwed to
is.
the side, essentially. Screwed to the side, nothing.
Be nice
No-
if you
no
can actually do
joinery.
this to regular houses. If you can have rafter tails
Yeah,
like this,
I know.
and that's the soffit. How
I know. Yeah.
I don't know, but
And on top of those, nice fancy rafter, expose pine board.
Yep.
So a 1x7 pine board, so it can kind of take the curve, and then in between pine board blocking, with a nice
Mm-hmm.
just a 1-inch ventilation strip. So you cut your block, you slap on that ventilation piece, fit them together, puck, and
that's
you're
it,
good to
you're
go.
done.
It took me, because there is 56 rafter
Both
tails.
sides?
No,
what
because
side?
one side is totally exposed, but then so you have the big meditation hall, and then you have a flat roof in between,
Yeah, you've got
and then the porches.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
the portion where there's the flat roof, that's like where they have the bathroom, a couple places where they can store stuff, and then on the other side where there's the porches, just a nice low slope roof. That's where they have like the entryway, and they can eat there and whatever.
So the rafter tails have a curve to them.
Yeah, the rafter tails have a curve to them.
How who the architect first who drew it came up with the radius on that curve, or you guys kind of experimented with it when it
We
was
kind of experimented with it. My foreman just came up one morning and he had traced out a pattern, but he kind of just took a guess of how it would look, and we'd give it a try on just like a normal 2x10.
cut one, put it up there?
Yeah,
photograph
exactly.
it, show everybody?
Yeah, exactly.
approve?
Show
Okay.
everybody, show the monks. We get a yes or no, and it was essentially, all right, that looks good.
That must
Yeah.
be interesting, having an on-site meeting with monks.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Like the
I guess
last
there's no profanity and there's no yelling.
No, it's pretty interesting because you're being brought up. Well, you're being kind of introduced into their world,
Yeah.
which is a very closed world because they live 20 kilometers away from Perth, which is already kind of in the boonies. So they're really like my phone stops getting signal a kilometer before the job site. Yeah. So
No tower.
no tower. Yeah. So it's kind of like a very secluded community. And, on your day to day, you see the monks wearing like their orange robes, walking around. Their head is completely shaven. They can't They can't ask for food. They can't have hobbies. They can't listen to music. They can't have a phone. There's a lot of things they can't do because it's all part of their
the culture.
the culture there.
Okay.
So yeah, it's kind of interesting. Yeah, like you said, like on a meeting, we're gonna have like all of us wearing our pouches, hard hat, and then there's like 3 monks with their robes, and
It must be interesting.
it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're all like, super calm,
Yes.
smiling. Like a lot of people, when I explain to them, you can't have all these things, they're like, oh, I couldn't live like that. And I kind of agree to some extent. Like, I like the way I'm living. But when you see how like peaceful and happy they are, there's something to it as well.
They're not doing something wrong.
They're not doing something wrong, Like they don't, since they can drive, not stuck in traffic.
Yep.
There's not like, oh, my car needed an oil change, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
I don't have the
yeah.
time. They don't have to log on to Hydro One to pay their bills.
Yeah,
There's not like your cell phone is ringing all the time, distracting you from your day-to-day task. So,
They're not online seeing the progress that you guys are doing.
yeah, no, probably not. Probably
leaving
not.
comments and
Yeah.
stuff like that. No, but I'm sure that they're very respectful of the work that's being performed right
Yeah.
there, right? So they know that structure is going to stay
Yeah.
there for a long time.
Because a lot of them during like the winter months, they travel. So they go to Thailand, they go to all those places where they are those temple.
Yes.
So they can kind of gauge like what they want, what works well and everything, and they come back with that knowledge, and then this is how kind of they approve artwork.
Are the meetings more about them asking questions, or you guys presenting the drawings coming to life, so to speak? So
Yeah, more like the drawings coming to life, because
Okay,
they
so-
were really involved with the drawing process with the architect.
Yeah.
And then, but it's really hard for people who are not kind of in the construction industry to
understand.
see the plan
Yeah.
and then to visualize it once it's there. Like, I'm sure you're very aware of that. Like,
Yeah.
you bring in something into their home and they're like, oh, it's way bigger than I expected. But then they were the ones giving you the original measurements. So you're kind of like, well, it's, you
Have they
decided.
walked inside and seen?
Oh, yeah, of
they-
course.
okay, so they
Yeah, of course.
all that
Yeah.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
I guess. Okay, I just want to ask a dumb question, but
Okay, sure.
building inspection wise, because there's still inspections going on.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So, do the monks have to wear hard hats and safety boots?
They should. They should, but they don't.
I guess they don't, right?
really.
Because
They
it's
don't
their
really.
dwelling. But
Yeah.
I visualize that inspector having about that. Just I need to kind of speak
Yeah.
up or something. But you're just being respectful because they're very peaceful people, and,
Yeah.
and they're just looking at the structure. But it's still a job site, right?
Yeah, it's still a job site. Knock on wood, I've yet to see the safety inspector there. I'm sure he's going to come up, at one point.
Or maybe
Yeah.
they're thinking that you guys are doing just an amazing job.
Yeah,
maybe they're
maybe.
following you guys online. And they
Oh,
see
yeah,
the
yeah,
work.
probably,
So it
exactly.
could be that,
Yeah.
right? I was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
curious about it because that would be a somewhat surreal meeting with that kind of a client.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I think it'd be nice if most clients were monks.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure you have a few good stories about that too.
All right, so sorry, I deviated a little bit.
No,
So
no, it's fine.
Back on track now.
So okay, so I was talking about the exposed rafter
Roof, yeah, the
tails.
rafter
So
tails.
56 rafter tails, and then pine block in between, but also on the other side of the building where you have the porches, you have
Yep.
2 porches.
Yeah.
So that whole span is 110 feet, which also has exposed rafter tail. They're not as detailed. It's just like it's a 3x6 with just a plumb cut and a level cut.
Okay.
But in between, you also have the same details. So a 1x6 pine piece with that nice ventilation strip on top. And for each of those, it's sanded 80 grit, 100 grit, oiled, nice round over with the
So after
with the
you
router.
cut it, you're treating everything.
Yeah, exactly. Everything is treated.
Wow.
Yeah. For cutting the rafter tails, installing them, then the pine block, you're probably talking, I did it essentially all by myself because my, other people in the team are doing
was your
something
task,
else. That was
right?
my task. Yeah,
How
that was my
long did
task.
it take you?
It's safe to say 4 weeks. Yeah.
Just for those.
Yeah.
That deep.
Yeah. Because just doing the sanding takes up so much time because it's all material that's coming from the mill. So it's plain, it's to your good size, but then you have a lot of like planing marks that you're not really getting if you're buying something like from a lumber shop, sometime they're going to pass it in through like the belt sander just once.
Yeah.
But when material are coming from the mill, you have the big planer marks. It's not always in its best shape. So you have quite a lot of like just treatment just to get that nice finish to it. Then oiled, and that takes time too. Then installing, everything has to be string lined. Everything has to be perfectly aligned, because that's the first step you're going to use to then sheet your roof.
Yeah.
So you want everything to be really perfect.
How does that make you feel, Fred, when you're like, you have 4 weeks possibly? You're trying to calculate in your head how long this is going to take, and you've got 4 weeks to do all this monotonous work because you've figured out the problem already. And you guys are like some of the best problem solvers when it comes to this kind of construction.
Yeah.
But now you've got this repetitive.
Oh, I love it.
You love it? Really?
Oh, yeah, I love it. I'll time myself from the first, like I was timing myself cutting the first rafter, and then you time yourself like midway and at the end to see the progression.
Speeding up.
Yeah, you're speeding up also, but you're not.
Hi, I'm Stuart Galloway, president of the Canadian Concrete Expo, Canada's only national trade show serving the concrete construction industry. CCE 2024 will feature over 350 national and international exhibiting companies, showcasing the latest equipment, products, technology, and services. CCE is the ideal environment to source new suppliers, reconnect with industry contacts, get hands-on with the latest equipment, and take advantage of exclusive show offers. We look forward to seeing you at CCE on February 14th and 15th, 2024 at the International Centre in Toronto. Pre-register on our website at CanadianConcreteExpo.com. Registration opens November 15th. See you there.
You're not speeding up. Essentially, you're just killing inefficiencies.
You're becoming more efficient.
Yeah, you're just killing the efficiency. I'm not cutting faster with the saw. I'm not sanding faster. I'm just really, like you said, just more efficient. Like you have your piece right there, because they're, for the rafter tail, they're a big piece. It's 3 by 10 by 10 feet, and you're cutting 2 out of those. Well, once a piece is there, I'm not flipping it unless both rafters are traced.
Yeah.
That's efficiency. When you're sanding, all those rafter tails or all those pine blocks, you lay on like 4 of them at the same time on the sawhorse, and it's just transfer, boom. And I'm not going, sanding one side, taking the sander, removing, putting 100 grit. No, it's all 80, all 100.
Wow.
It's all like that you really gain efficiency. I'm not like, for the people I've worked with me, I'm not a fast worker. Like I'll take my time, but I'm pretty efficient on the way that I set up my tools. Like I'm not running around looking for something. If it needs to be in your pouch, have it into your pouch. Yep. And that's probably my biggest pet peeve, is when I'll see someone who is just like taping a window and they're like, oh, I don't need my pouch for this. So they,
back and forth,
back and forth, man. And that drives me insane.
You're wasting the day.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not a fast worker, but I think I'm very efficient. So, and in the end, it adds up to being quite a lot of time saved. Because the biggest waste of time probably on a job site is looking for stuff. It's true.
Yeah.
Like when you see someone pull up and their van is all unorganized or the trailer is all over the place.
The reason why you see trim guys or tile guys and everybody's got their little Makita pack out box.
Yeah,
or whatever.
exactly.
Everything's organized. They just know. Bring it on site, drop it there, and then have everything at arm's reach, and then have it at your station, and then get working, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
Any mistakes? Like if you make a mistake, can you fix the mistake, or is the piece?
Well, if I made a mistake, no, because I was following a jig, but I've cut some pieces where I thought, because it's pine, sometimes there's knots, and it's kind of hard to gauge if the knot's gonna hold sometime. Sometimes you cut through it a certain way and it holds, and sometimes as soon as it's being released from its original piece, it kind of just falls. So 4 pieces were kind of like, I cut them and I just could tell this piece is gonna be no good. Yeah. And also because the material was fairly wet.
So it was new.
Yeah, it was new. When it started to dry, some of them started to develop some pretty nasty crack.
Really?
But we had planned that. So we had a few extra planks to cut it from, and I think we had to recut 4 because we could just kind of tell this is gonna
it's gonna be a problem.
it's
later
gonna
on.
be a problem, yeah,
Okay.
essentially. So yeah, I guess you could say those 8 piece were kind of a mistake, but kind of not. But
done with wood.
it's wood. There's not
Yeah.
not really anything you can do about it.
Where's all
And,
the pine coming from?
I think it's McVeigh lumber in the area.
In the area.
Yeah,
Okay.
which is that guy probably had anything that's kind of timber frame in the area. He's
supplying it.
Yeah, he's supplying it. He's pretty legit. Yeah, if you tell him that you're in a rush, he'll work with you. And if you don't tell him you're in a rush, he's not in a rush as well. So
He puts you in a different.
yeah,
queue.
he puts you in a different crew. Exactly.
That's all it is,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
But he's just trying to please everybody that's doing
Yeah,
work there because
yeah.
he knows how valuable that
Yeah.
material is. It's
Yeah.
not like walking to a big box
Yeah.
and going into the shelf and grabbing your material. It's a different world.
And for those timber frame projects, kind of more custom, it's not as much of a rush as it is to frame like a duplex
Yes.
in the heart of the city.
Yeah.
Like when I was framing, time is money. You want to be in and out of there as quick as you can. Those kind of projects that I'm now working on, it's not really the same mindset. Like for that temple, the monks are not living in it, so there's not really a rush to finish it. We're going to do the work. It's going to take the amount of time that it takes. We're going to make sure we're as efficient as possible, and that's it.
It works.
Yeah, it works. So that kind of wraps up the temple. I'll be posting more picture of the
So you're
siding
getting
once
close.
it's
Will
on.
it be done completely before winter settles in, or close?
I don't
No?
think so. Probably
till early-
spring.
oh,
Yeah,
really? The
probably
spring?
spring. Yeah.
Okay.
Probably spring. Because one of our lead carpenters just had a baby, so he's on daddy daycare stuff. So one guy down. It's going to take a bit more time.
Yeah.
We'll manage.
Yeah.
But it's kind of just like that's life stuff. Yeah. So that wraps up the temple. Another thing we've been working on is my boss has a big property and he has his house and he built a cabin in the back of it to retire in it.
Okay.
Probably in the next 2 years, and that's the log cabin I just posted.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, really, really cool project. I didn't work on the log stuff because I was still in school. So 2 years ago when he started, but essentially what he did, he took 8x12s, who are I think it's 26 foot long, and essentially built himself like a replica of an original log house that were in the area that the pioneers built, in the early 1800s when they came over here.
Wow.
So you have, instead of having those 2 sides that are axed, they're milled piece, but you still have those nice dovetailed exposed corner, chinking in between, and inside of that gap that the dovetail creates, this is where you pass like all your electricals. The plumbing comes through the floor, and inside of it, you have your exposed floor joists that are on top of post and beam exposed timber frame pine.
How's he doing the joists, the floor joists? Traditionally?
Yeah, traditional. Yeah, exactly.
You can't tell at that point, right? Like,
Oh, you're talking about traditionally like.
well, is he using I-joists or is he actually using
No, it's
conventional lumber?
it's timbers.
Oh, it's still timbers.
Yeah, it's still timbers. Yeah,
What's
it's still
he using?
timbers.
I'm curious. Like, what size?
I think
Like
it's
2x8.
No, it's a 3. I think it's a 3x8.
Oh, he's
it's a pretty
using
short
3
span.
by, really?
Yeah,
Like what,
it's
on 16 centers or wider?
2 by 2
24?
foot, I think.
He's on 24.
Yeah. There's a picture on IG. Maybe it's good to double check before I stop saying a
I'm
bunch
just
of
curious.
nonsense.
Oh, there it is right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man, that's
Yeah, exactly. It's nice scarf joint too, connecting the beams, and then on top of it you have 1.5 inch thick pine board for your flooring.
I love the logs, man.
Yeah, it's a really, really cool project.
Did he do the chinking himself too?
Yeah.
And then, so the logs themselves are made from what, spruce or pine?
It's pine.
That's pine.
Yeah.
But then the lighter pine on the second floor, that go vertical.
Yep.
That's also pine as well too.
Yeah, pine as well.
So why didn't he just? I'm just curious. Like, why didn't he just go all logs all the way to the top, or he just didn't want? He wanted to have that kind of difference of cladding.
Yeah, difference of cladding, and also on the second floor, that's kind of where they have more of the modern commodities. So they have a bathroom, his office, so more wires, more more plumbing to pass. On his main floor, it's just essentially it's going to be like an open concept. So a kitchen, a table a table in the corner, and then a nice fireplace. So not a lot. You don't really need a lot of plumbing. You don't really need a lot of wires. It's going to be gas stove for cooking.
But he still has to submit a drawing to the city.
Yep. Yeah.
Still has to get approved.
Yeah. Still has
passed.
to get approved. Yeah. And then once again, but the second floor, so you have a half wall, so like a 4-foot wall, that's just stud frame. On top of it, it's just 2x10 rafters.
Any drywall in there? No.
Just for the ceiling of
On the second floor.
Yeah, but the second floor is not. The whole point wasn't to have the second floor kind of like as a cabin feel. It was more the second floor. Yeah, more like an update. Yeah.
Is there a reason why? I'm just curious. Why does he have that one window orange framed?
Oh, like the color?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think he kind of wants. I'm gonna go.
Or was that an
double-check.
experiment that he was just doing? Because all the other windows are. Oh no, they're not finished. That's why.
Yeah, they're not finished.
That's why.
Yeah,
So
the
they're
trim
not
has-
dressed. Yeah,
the
so
trim
I still
hasn't
see.
been
Yeah, I still see the blue
put
skin
in.
and everything like that. So it's. I mean, I just love the mix of modern and traditional.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Where you like, I'm sure that when you walk in there, it still feels 100% traditional.
Oh yeah, and also like simplicity of design goes a long way. If you really sit down and you really think about what you want in your house, it doesn't have to be complicated with all those crazy material. Like simplicity of design with good proportion, well executed, goes a very long way.
What's the size of this, Fred? The size of this cabin?
It's pretty small. I think it's 26 foot wide by 20 deep. So pretty small. It was built to be like a retirement home for 2 people.
So it's basically just a little bit bigger than a double car garage.
Yeah. Yeah. About. Yeah.
Yeah,
about.
maybe 50%
Yeah.
bigger than
Yeah.
Which plus the second floor. But then you also have the overhang as well on the porches,
Yeah.
right?
You have the porches.
So it's like that's very comfortable, man. Like that's.
Yeah.
Do you know offhand? I'm curious, budget wise, was he? Because he's doing it all himself.
Yeah, we're doing it all himself. So he's saving quite a lot just by doing it all by himself. And when the plumber comes in, it's the same company that does all of our projects. So I'm sure they're not.
Yeah. So
I'm sure
I
they're
don't
giving
think
a
the
good
budget's gonna be
price.
crazy. Is this something that you want to build for yourself one day?
Yeah, definitely.
Probably, right?
Yeah, definitely. Something
I'm
like
looking at it
that.
going, I want to build it this weekend.
Yeah.
This is start this weekend, but it's going to take a few weekends
Yeah.
of that. But
Yeah.
no, that's beautiful. That's a
The
beautiful
last
structure.
thing we worked on that project was the porch with exposed the 3x6 rafters.
They're
Then
beefy, yeah.
We kind of took everything that wasn't used at the temple. We kind of just
Makes sense.
you just use it there.
There's no reason to just let it age or burn it out or whatever. But
Yeah.
no, it makes sense to use it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a beauty. So he's going to finish that soon?
Yeah.
It's close.
Yeah, so it's pretty close. I think that's aimed for Christmas for moving in. Yeah.
What's the red garage or barn door here?
So okay, that's actually the next step I was
The next
going
step.
to.
Okay,
The
all right,
next step.
perfect. We're on track then.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, we're on track. So start last January. So we split the crew in 2. So one crew was at the temple, where I was most of the time, but then some other crew was working on a barn restoration just outside of Perth. Some couple from Ottawa bought a farm, and they had.
That's a big barn.
It's a huge barn. It's a
That's a big barn.
it's a big barn. So it's some couple from Ottawa who obviously had
Some money.
some money, decided they were gonna buy a farm. There's a farmhouse on it. We're eventually gonna renovate the farmhouse, but they wanted to start with the barn, so they could host. Well, the guy really wanted to put his tractor in it, but a tractor in that size of that barn, it's not really big. But they want to do art exposition, music events. So kind of just something so they could use the barn. And they were like, okay, let's make the barn safe, because the barn hadn't been kind of like all those barns.
What was the original purpose of that barn?
For farm stuff.
For farm,
like there
okay.
was cows and cattle in the basement.
What was the floor, the ground? Was it just on dirt or on
it was actually cement.
cement? Yeah.
So it's probably early 1900s. Some portion of it is a bit older than the other one. Where I was going.
No. So the couple, they bought it and they were going to
Yeah.
use it for art events.
Yeah. Okay. So and they were just like, okay, let's make this safe. Let's make this looks good. Let's not go too crazy on like the renovation. We would just want it to work. So we did a lot of work on the floor system, which I also have a picture dating back from a few months. But you can see we've removed all the planks. We've worked on the timbers. And the timber, like the good thing with timber framing is you can take that frame apart, work on your pieces, and if everything is good, you can still put it back and it goes on for another hundreds of years. Like you see the same thing
That's
going.
the flooring, right?
Yeah, that's the flooring.
Wow.
So it's all been stripped. We've worked on those logs.
But look at the condition of that over a century.
Over a century, exactly, and it's still kicking. Like for most often time in a barn, the thing that really kills them is they don't have a good foundation. So then the logs kind of get the sill plates get rotted out. And then from there, that's a challenging repair. Yeah, it's doable. But
you're
it's a challenging
the wall at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how you start to see barns fall apart.
Yeah.
They start sagging,
Yep,
and then if
exactly.
you don't catch it in time, so it looks like these people caught it in time.
But there
wasn't even any problems. It looked like it was still conditioned, taken care of.
I mean, it was starting to have some issue, like some leaks in the roof. So we changed some sheets of of the roofing.
Yeah,
there was a lot of the siding, which were just like planks, had essentially just like falling off, which it's not really a big repair. You just slap a new one on and essentially you're good to go for another probably 75 years if it's well maintained. But the main thing was more, we made sure the floor was good because like I said, the guy wanted to put his tractor there. So we worked on the timbers. Some still had, some needed to be changed. That's what it is. Because oftentimes back in the days, they were cutting the trees, peeling them, doing the joinery, and then installing them. But if you don't, sometimes the tree that you just cut has a disease or has already been rotted. If you don't catch it and you put it into your floor, then it's kind of a done deal until it gets changed. Yeah. So not all logs can be saved. Some that can be saved, we're going to reuse them. And honestly, you look at a timber and you think like it's all been grayed out, it looks kind of old. 1 or 2 pass with like a belt sander or even just like a plain electric plane, and it's the same color that it was way back. The same color as the pine right there. So it's pretty impressive. Like just planing and essentially just removing all the surface that are not clean, you get a new timber out of it, and then it looks real good again.
So I see that there's a lot of space underneath there, but like almost as if it's a basement, but it's not a basement. That's designed just for what? To just let air circulate around?
No, it is a basement.
It is a basement?
It is a basement. Okay. So the barn is kind of on a slope.
Yeah.
So the basement was where the cattle was, and on top there was the farming equipment.
Oh, okay, all right. So.
Yeah, exactly. But the basement is not gonna get used for their future plans. Right? Yeah, exactly.
So the barn door was originally like that, or no?
No,
that was rebuilt.
We rebuilt. Yeah,
that?
Yeah. So
and
the track, I'm not sure. I was just for the barn doors. I was just brought in for the day that we were installing. So that's essentially what you're seeing. I didn't build those doors. My coworkers did. Okay. And they did, one hell of a job.
It's big. It's 10 feet.
Oh, massive. Yeah. Each door is, like 8 by 12 or something like that. Massive. It looks kind of small.
It does
on that picture because the barn is so big. The barn is almost like 40 foot tall because it's on a hill. So it's really gaining that space. And the doors just look so small, but they're huge. So what they did for that, they did essentially a traditional door. So they took, planks 2x6.
Okay.
And then on a frame that was planked 2x8, a hand spike 4-inch, and then clinched in the back. So that means is you're poking through both layers of your 2x material, and you're twisting and you're bending the excess of the point down. So it's really gripping both, just like they were doing 150 years ago
with the iron nail.
Yeah, right? With the iron nail,
the spikes,
exactly, right? With the spikes. So that's what they did, and then just sand it a bit, just so you're getting the splinters out, and then paint, a couple layers of paint, and then
it'll never twist. It'll
rock and roll.
Yeah, it'll never. And the only way that it actually rots at the bottom is if you just leave snow or whatever. Moisture
exactly.
at the bottom.
Moisture.
it's raised high enough from the
Yep.
grade that you'll never have that problem.
Exactly.
Wow.
Really, really cool project. And that
Still
kinda-
working on that one, or is that one finished?
No, that one's finished.
Okay.
That one's finished. And it was kind of interesting to see because there was, you know, you build this nice big barn, but then nobody works on it for like 100 years. And then farmers kind of do their own repair if they really need to. And there was on one day we had to really put like a hard days of work because braces were missing from the frame. So you could see the mortise on the post, you could see the mortise
But
on
someone's
the beam,
missing.
but like where did it went? So
You
we're
think
not
it rotted out, or you think it was broken out, or
my
a harsh year and they
yeah
needed some wood for
team lead
burning?
my team lead thinks sometime the building can starts to sag, and if there's not a dowel holding that brace,
it
can really starts to spread, and then that measurement that you had is now growing and growing. Let's say the brace is let's say the brace is following the typical ratios of like 3 foot from the inside of the post and 3 foot down, which create, I think it's like a measurement, it's like close to 4 feet
Yeah.
or something of like a triangle. Let's say those two starts to sag, they spread apart, that measurement becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. Eventually it gets bigger than the brace falls off. So we had during one day we installed 12 brace again.
That was-
yeah,
that
12,
many were
12 were
missing?
missing. 12 were missing and the barn is still holding. So, it's a good lesson because we build all those new houses with LVL, triple
engineered trusses.
yeah, engineered trusses, LVL, triple 2x10 over like a gable end windows. Everybody is losing their mind if it's not glued and screwed, blah, 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 blah. But then you
Nail
see,
pattern and all.
yeah, a nail pattern and this and that, and you got to use galvanized this. But then you look at these barn who was missing 12 braces, essentially holding on God knows what,
Yeah.
and it's still going. So sometime, people stop losing your mind if it's not overkill. Like I remember you saying in an episode, when you have like when you're fixing a roof and you have like a 2x4 roof with just like a 1x
Yeah.
for the ridge,
Yeah.
and then you see the add-on that the framers have
4
put.
ply 16-inch
Yeah.
LVL over 20
Exactly.
That's what I went through. And we were literally
Yeah,
removing
exactly.
a 2x4 ridge.
Yeah, exactly. And
And it was
It's
still
still
there
kick-
for,
yeah, it's still there.
I don't know what it was, over 100 years maybe.
yeah, exactly.
So why
there's-
are we replacing it with this?
Yeah.
And then there was a whole argument about wind and structure and how engineers calculate. They don't calculate it on that single dwelling being in that row of
Yeah.
houses. They calculate it as if that house is in the middle of a field, in
Yeah.
the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
and
middle
you're
of
getting
nowhere.
complete forces on both
Yeah.
sides, all 4 sides, and that's what the potential risk is. So based on those calculations, we need a 4-ply 16 LVL.
Which, if a house is in the middle of the prairies,
Yes.
okay, sure, but we're not in the prairies here.
In a row in downtown Toronto in a
Yeah.
community, you got houses on
Yeah.
either side protecting. You've got
Yeah.
houses across the street protecting
Exactly.
you. Yeah, no, I get it, and it's a liability thing. I guess back then in the day, the farmers didn't have the liability because there was a problem. You just bury him. That's
yeah,
all it was,
exactly,
right?
exactly.
No, it's a valid point to bring up, but it's just like you're walking in and you're seeing the history of this structure, and obviously there's a lot of history to the structure, and you're wondering, okay, so what happened over the years and what could have happened?
Yeah, exactly.
But the thing
Perspective
is,
is
it
a
didn't
big
collapse, right?
Yeah.
It's still there, and now
Yeah.
it's great that you got people that look at the potential of it and turning it into something, right? So
Yeah.
you still keep that structure, and they'll continue to keep that structure.
Yeah.
At the point.
And it's huge inside. Like one day we were playing like badminton. Once the floor was finished,
Wow.
like there's enough space to do
Ceiling
anything.
and lengthwise and widthwise and everything.
So the total building size, we're talking like 60 by 40 or something like that, with the walls being 14 foot, and then the rafter starts. So yeah, at the ridge, you're almost 35 feet or something. It's huge, huge. So enough space to put his tractor, definitely.
Do you think you could ever, or would the city allow you to ever build?
Something like that.
No, a timber frame in a downtown row house division.
I think so.
I don't think why you would not get approved.
Yeah, I don't see why you wouldn't get approved. Maybe,
It's a space thing.
yeah,
You're losing quite a bit of space of square footage because your walls and everything.
yeah.
But be interesting to see it.
Oh, definitely.
Someone build it, someone
Yeah.
come up with it, and
because you see on, on some articles or some magazine, when you have like a timber frame inside of a city, it kind of builds like a nice contrast with like glass towers, and then you have this wooden frame. It's really cool.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is really cool.
But most of the time, you see it in these kinds of environments, right? Like they just nestled into that environment. It fits really well. But I'd love to see more cottages, more people taking more risk on doing, not necessarily the pre-kit. Like we saw that whole resurgence of the kit, the timber framing kits, right? And they're not quite the same thing. They're similar, but they're not quite the same.
Yeah. And also, you're not, from a kit, they're mainly like, the sizes are way smaller. You're talking oftentimes it's like a 12 by 16.
Yeah.
So essentially you're just building almost like a shed, which could be fine for like a small cottage, but then you're so limited with what you can put in it then after. Yeah. So that wraps up the barn. Yeah. That was a really cool project to work on, because
any boring projects, Fred? Like
any boring project? No, essentially ever since I moved here, I've been so lucky, because the thing is with essentially when you're trying to make, your trade a career and you want to be interested all the way, there needs to be like, you can do all those things. You can make sure you work for a company that has potential. You can get the good education, but you kind of have to like, there needs to be luck involved.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe in the next 5 years, I could be getting stuck on projects that I'm not as interested.
Yeah.
But so far, it's been really interesting.
The doors are opening. So a lot of people,
doors.
I guess they're noticing on the work that you're being a part of.
Yeah.
And then also the skill that you're bringing to the table. So they say, well, he's valuable. He's got the skills and he's got the mindset, and maybe he hasn't done everything, right? But just like these two samples here, you've gone from there to that, right?
Yeah.
Which is insane that you are taking more challenges at that point, right?
And I also want to point out, like, in my crew, I'm not the best, but I'm also not the worst.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's where you want to be anywhere in life. Because sometimes you see people who are at the top, they kind of get lazy and they kind of lose interest. And then if you're always at the bottom, maybe it's not made for you.
Yeah.
But if you're in the middle, like me, like I look up, to my team lead, Justin, who's the lead timber frame, and you're seeing everything he can do, and it's like, oh my God, like it's so inspiring. Like I want to be like that, or I want to be able to do it. Or you look at, Patrick Moore, everything that he's building, and it's so inspiring to say one day I might be a fraction of what he is, but that's going to be good enough for me. And like I said, a millimeter a day, and eventually you'll get, maybe not there, but you'll get close enough to it. So it's a very safe spot to be. And it's kind of where I wasn't the worst, but I also wasn't the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good place to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's how you're going to learn and also be able to teach, right? Because other people are going to come into the circle as well too.
Yeah.
Which is really good for you, right?
Yeah. All right. So now let's get into the stereotomy of things.
Yeah.
So January of this year, I decided to take stage 1 of Patrick Moore historical carpentry course.
Okay.
And it's on stereotomy. And for those of us who haven't listened to his podcast, stop everything you're doing now.
Listen to it.
Park your car, do whatever you need to do, and go listen to episode.
I can't remember. It was back in March or something.
It was back in April. So 300
and something.
300 and something. Just put on Patrick Moore.
You'll find
TCL.
it. Yeah, if you do a search or whatever podcast channel you're on, you find Construction Life, type in Patrick Moore, and it'll come up right away.
So stop what you're doing. Go listen to his podcast, because he brings in like so much value to this. And essentially
it was fun talking to him.
Yeah, exactly. And
I still didn't learn the whole thing.
Yeah. And Patrick, if you're listening, you have to come back on, talk more about this, but you also have to come back on and talk about your experience in France, because he was there for a few years doing the whole experience with the Compagnon.
He mentioned it briefly.
I know. He just nibbled on it. I was like, no, we need to hear more about this. And also, he needs to come back on for a third time and talk about everything that he's done in Canada. So please, Pat, this is your favorite student, Fred. I'm calling you out. You need to come back on.
He'll come back. I'm sure he'll reach out and we'll talk. No, for sure. Love to have him back anytime, right? So then he can continue that conversation.
Yeah, exactly. So January, I take on that course. You have 4 months, and you're essentially really starting from the very basic on like just how to have a good lead on your pencil, how to set up your page. And, you essentially get shown those geometry problem, and you're solving them one by one. And at the end of the course, there's two models. There's a valley model, and there's a hip model. So the ones I've brought in here are on stage 2, so they're a bit more developed. Your first model is essentially just a king pose, so what we have right here,
Right there.
and a hip.
So you just do the one hip.
Yeah,
and
it sounds simple.
Sounds basic, but it's
Sounds
not.
basic.
No, it's not.
Now, with everything that I've ever done in carpentry, what sounded basic was always the thing where it took me the most time. And where I was intimidated by a project, at the end of it, I was like, oh, that's it. So if something looks simple, please, people, like,
Prepare.
okay? Yeah, it's a mindset that can be kind of dangerous.
So at the start of the show, you were expressing that it was more challenging on paper to draw it to get
Yeah.
it started, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So then it wasn't until you actually started, once you figured out the paper component of
Mm-hmm.
it, then it became simpler at that point.
Yeah, exactly. So for the people who are not aware, essentially what stereotomy is, it's descriptive geometry.
Yeah.
So you have, let's just say, a pyramid. It's all those views, all those angles on a sheet of paper, giving you measurements for angle, proportions, and everything. Patrick can describe it way better than I can.
Yeah.
But essentially what you're essentially taking a roof, you're putting it onto paper with different elevations. So plan view, elevation A, elevation B, like here. We have two elevations. We have this portion here. We have this portion here. We have elevation of the hip. So I'm essentially taking one triangle, putting it on its side, and then from there you have plumb cut, seed cut, span, etc. And I'm going to do this for each of those elevation. But the way that it gets interesting and the way that we're able to have all those pieces connected, I'm going to take all of these views and I'm going to transfer line to line on where they connect to now get, okay, my rafter is going to hit this king post at this elevation, and it's going to create, a bird's mouth. It's going to create a seed cut. It's going to create a plumb cut. So you're taking all the information that you have on all those views, connecting them through, it's either like 90 degrees, spanning across the paper, and bit by bit, you're getting all the information that you would have on like a book. And just like Pat said, I'm taking the book and I'm putting all the information on the cover page, and that's it. You have it all.
You guys make it sound easy.
Well, actually, if it sounds easy, then good. Okay.
No, I mean, I'd love to tackle it one day, just to wrap my head around it. But I'm sure that I'll be frustrated until I actually see the light. I'll figure out how it actually works, right?
Well, the good thing with stage 1 is you really start from like the very beginning, and bit by bit it gets more complex. But you're also each task, because the way it is, Patrick sends you a file. Then you have step 1, 2, 3, or 4, and each of those steps, and there's like task 1, 2, 3. So the task 3 of step 1, you're going to use the skills that you have developed in your previous task. So you're always upbringing, kind of just like walking up like a stairs. So on your step 1, it's easy. On step 5, it's a bit harder, but you've developed the knowledge in the previous steps to then tackle each task.
In your education, or you studying, and also Patrick's, has there ever been a stereotomist that achieved everything?
Hi, I'm Stuart Galloway, president of the Canadian Concrete Expo, Canada's only national trade show serving the concrete construction industry. CCE 2024 will feature over 350 national and international exhibiting companies, showcasing the latest equipment, products, technology, and services. CCE is the ideal environment to source new suppliers, reconnect with industry contacts, get hands-on with the latest equipment, and take advantage of exclusive show offers. We look forward to seeing you at CCE on February 14th and 15th, 2024 at the International Centre in Toronto. Pre-register on our website at CanadianConcreteExpo.com. Registration opens November 15th. See you there.
Because I don't think that's possible.
I don't think that's
Because I
possible.
think there's
Just
always a new way to do something.
Yeah, there's a new way to do something, and
Like
then
when he was doing the stairs, and I saw the stairs recently, I was like,
this is it.
it's
yeah,
like
he's done
technically
it.
speaking, you're saying it's
Yeah.
stairs, but it's not stairs.
Yeah.
So it's like he found a new way. So it's like I'm assuming that you guys, when you're tackling these courses or you're tackling these details on site, you're constantly evolving and trying new ideas. So you'll never
Yeah.
get to the end of trying something new.
Patrick is definitely closer than I am.
Of course, yeah, yeah. But it's just that you guys will never. And is that? I guess the question is like, does that drive you because you're always?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Of course. Like, you have to get it at it from a mindset that it has to drive you. If it's discouraging you, then you're definitely not going to be able to succeed. For me, it's driving me. Like I said, I see everything that other people are doing, and I'm like, yeah, if they do it, I can do it. But I'm also like, I'm ready to take on the challenge, and it's not going to be easy, but once again, millimeter at a time and bit by bit, you're getting to a place where you look back on everything that you've done and you're like, wow, I've made some good progress, and now I can make very semi-complex joinery.
But you're taking the progresses that you've learned and you're now compounding them,
Yeah,
compounding them together,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
I know that with the classes, I'm sure that you're seeing probably different age groups and you're getting different levels of framers or different types of tradespeople that are getting in there.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, but there's never a reason why a stereotomist will actually go back into traditional framing and just focus on that. It's almost like you're taking a Formula One driver and getting them to park cars and valet.
Well, there's one guy who does it in California, and I talked about it on the last podcast. He writes book, Sim Ayers from California.
Yeah, okay.
Shout out to SB Builders.
Yeah.
And he's actually like a custom home builder in California, but he builds he brings a lot of the complex stuff for building, like turrets, spiral staircase, and he uses stereotomy, but he's stick framing in the end, actually. So not as much joinery as you would see on like a timber frame, but definitely a lot of geometry in his houses. And that guy too, it's worth a shot to follow him on. I think he's only on Facebook. I'm not sure if he's very active on Instagram.
Okay.
But he also has a really, really good website, sbebuilders.blog, I'm pretty sure. For those who are interested, it's really worth to, once again, taking an hour of your day and just really dive in what he's doing. And he also has books, and his books are to my knowledge, his books are the only one in English available, I would say, the world almost.
Really?
Yep.
I totally forgot to mention that you brought me a book.
Yeah. Learn a timber frame,
Yeah.
and this one by Ted Benson?
Will Beamer?
Will Beamer. Okay,
Beamer,
sorry, yeah.
And Jack A. Sobin?
Jack Sobin, yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
those are two very big names in the
There's
timber frame
complete plans
community.
in here too for a 12 foot by 16 foot cabin.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'll do a little TCL cabin one day.
Yeah,
Thank you so much
awesome.
for the book. But I think that's like, this whole craft is really about education.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you really got to pay attention to, like, that's the only way it's going to get passed down, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's very old knowledge and tried and true. Like I said, when I was talking about the barn, you build something and it lasts for generations. And just, if you guys are not believing me, like the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris that just burned down, the roof was 800 years old with original timbers.
And they're rebuilding it all.
And
now.
they're rebuilding.
In the exact same
Yeah,
way,
the
using
exact
the same
same way.
timbers from the
Yeah.
same forest.
Yeah, using the same, even the same axes, same types of axes.
If it ain't broke, well, I mean, it burned down,
It-
but it worked. It was
It
still
worked,
holding.
yeah.
And rebuild it
So-
the exact same way.
I'm going to go and challenge anybody in the building industry to say that 800 years old is not a good track record. If you guys want to debate, I'm up for it.
Yeah,
okay?
but they'll probably turn around and say, because it's not 1,000,
well,
Fred.
yeah, like
It's not 1,000.
it used to be different. Well, anyways, challenge accepted.
It's not different. It's just, it's general principles.
Yeah, exactly. I think just our perception has changed.
Yeah.
Because especially in North America, we emphasize so much on like everything that's new. If it's old, we're not interested.
I would assume that America embraces the old more, but I'm just trying to think
Maybe.
of a lot of the
Maybe it's
open
possible.
areas that they build structures there, right? They do them differently. More than Canada, I would say.
Yeah, I would say more than Canada.
Right?
Yeah.
We've got a lot of land, but I don't think a lot of this kind of framing is happening in that open land of ours, right?
Definitely more in the east, because as the push was going west, like Alberta was only founded 1905. By then, essentially everything is stick
It
framed.
was already changing.
Like the train was bringing, lots of dimensional lumber already. It was all using the traditional square instead of the scribe technique.
Yeah.
And essentially what I'm saying, the scribe technique was when you're using timbers that are not perfectly square, what you do is you put them on top of each other, and where those connection point hit, you use like either a compass to trace out your joinery or a plumb bob that say, okay, my beam is going to touch at this point, make a mark, touch at this point, make a mark, connect those points. And this is where you can have, a bird's mouth. This is where you can have your brace for a 45. That was the technique that the European brought, especially the French. That was a technique that they brought over to North America to build, the colonies.
Yeah.
But by the time you get to the Western expansion, it's now like, late 1800s, early 1900s. The train is bringing, dimensional lumber. You don't need to do it anymore. And this is where the framing square really was used, because now you don't need to scribe. You just use your square to do all your measurements.
It was a shift in the
Yeah, there was a
industry.
shift. It's not.
Yeah.
Some people say, "Oh, that's what killed the industry." I don't really agree that the industry just evolved. Like it's not wrong to build your house stick frame with the framing square. There's nothing wrong to it. I think what kills the industry is not passing the knowledge.
Yep.
This is what kills the industry.
Yep.
Like if you want to build yourself a house with IC and blocks and everything is modern, solar panel, it's a house. All the system works.
Yep.
But just make sure that you have the knowledge to also build other things. When you don't have the knowledge, to me, this is where the trade suffers. I don't care what you do with your house. It's your house. Like for me, my future house is probably going to be a mix of a hybrid. So some portion stick frame, some portion timber frame.
Yeah.
It's not wrong.
Because you know both worlds, and
know
you
both
also
worlds,
still
yeah.
want a modern home, but
Yeah.
you want a traditional home.
Exactly. And not
Yeah.
everything has to be timber frame. Not everything has to be log built. Just like not everything has to be stick frame. You can put some accents to it. Like I'm probably going to have my walls just, stick frame, but then the ceiling, some nice timber joists with curves to them and everything, exposed.
You'll have details and
Yeah,
things, and it
exposed
makes
rafter.
sense because there's an opportunity to make it that way,
exactly.
so why
Yeah.
not? This course that you're doing, you just started this course?
So
The first one.
Yeah, so I finished stage 1. I have about 3 months of left for stage 2, and at the end of the course, we're building like a full scale. I mean, at that point, it's not really a model; it's a small roof, but with all the knowledge that we've learned from the two. The main part, you're gonna have a sloping top plate. You're gonna have, which is not easy because then every rafter you cut, they're going to be different because
Yeah.
you have slope on both sides of the rafter. So not easy, but we're going to learn how to do it.
As a team, the class works as
No, it's all individual stuff.
Okay, yeah.
Because it's all online. So the way it is, so you buy that class. Patrick sends you a Google file, and in that file there is all the information for stage 2. And then he's available to answer your question, and he answers really quick. Yeah, and it's really well made. Like at first, everybody is kind of like, well, I'm not, because we're tradespeople. We're not the one to learn in front of a computer, and I'm kind of a mix because I can do it just long enough to learn stuff. But I can't spend a whole day in front of a computer. For me, it's...
You want to get on the site.
Yeah, for me, it's an hour at a time, then take a coffee, go for a walk, then
But
go back to it.
You might not be the fastest, but you might not be the slowest, but you learn at your pace.
Mm-hmm.
So you can kind of pick up the lessons, which is really great. The number one priority is that he's sharing the knowledge.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And it's well made. So each of those tasks, you do your drawing. If there's sometimes it's a paper model. So it's called a raccord. So what you do, you take like a very complex pyramid or something that has a curve to it, and you're essentially, once again, breaking down that geometry. And then from there, you're creating a net plan. So it's everything that you see. It's everything that you see from the top, but kind of spread out, just kind of like a flower almost.
Yeah.
And then from there, you're cutting that, bending it, and then it creates that pyramid. I'm pretty sure I have. If you guys go on my Instagram under the file stereotomy, I think I have a picture of a raccord.
The thumbnail on the stereotomy. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And you have a picture of So that's what you're.
So that's the first. That's the first model.
Which one? That's the first model, right?
Yeah. So that's the first model. So what Manny just showed me was the first model. It's just a king pose and a hip.
That's the first one, smaller one there that you were working on.
So
Stage one done.
Yeah, stage one done.
That's what you
exactly.
were doing. So actually, it's pretty interesting that on the thumbnail stereotomy, you're actually showing
Yeah.
stage one. Oh, I didn't even notice that detail.
Yeah. So some pretty
This one here.
during stage two, this is kind of where things. It's always interesting on stage one, but on stage two, this is really things gets really impressive with some joinery that are really. I don't know how you would do it other than stereotomy. So it's essentially like almost two-piece crashing into each other, and you have really complex birth mouth with angles. You know,
I mean, it's impressive.
cheek-
Like, I love that you're showing the actual cut portion on top of the drawn portion.
Yep.
So you can get a sense of how it's still connected. But I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. And now you're doing. Well, look at this. Now you're doing a roof. You've got a roof that's on like a wedge.
Yeah. So that's a raccord. So essentially, that's a paper model.
Yeah.
So it's all those slopes spread out on your sheet, and then you cut around, bend it, and all those portion of the roofs are going to connect and meet at the peak or at ridges.
Wow.
Yeah.
Even you're leaving a note saying this not as easy as it looks.
Yeah. That one I remember. I think my the way I think that would happen for that. The way I had my light set up, it was creating like a shadow on the tip of the lead of the compass. So I was always like a millimeter or two longer.
Oh.
So I was giving it
trying
a
to figure
try.
out why.
Yeah, I was like, man, how is it wrong? And then you almost start to panic because you're like, oh my god, this whole drawing is screwed up. Screwed up is the polite word.
Let's do a little bit of class here, because I'm just noticing that you've got a bridle joint.
Mm-hmm.
And then what other types of joints are there in stereotomy that you can know off the top of your
Oh,
head?
it's essentially the same kind of joints that you could see on a job site. So a bridle joint would kind of be like an inverted bird's mouth.
Yep.
Some people call it a claw.
Yep.
Because it kind of looks like a claw.
It does, yeah.
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 So with a bridle joint, essentially, it's the best way to connect a valley, a hip, to like a king post.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because essentially, you're creating the shape of the king post at the end of your hip or your valley. And then from there, it creates like, for those of us who are going to watch.
Well, they can be listening to the show, and then they can go on your IG.
This is a bridle joint.
That's a bridle joint right there.
Bridle joint right there.
So
And there's also another one on this
on
one
the
right
bottom
here.
part, yeah.
Yep. Like there is one on this one as
On
well.
the top one as well, too.
Yeah. And then, you have a purlin cut. So essentially the one that you just showed me.
Yep.
Where you had your hip and then the purlin kind of crashing into it, and it creates a notch. I have one here as well.
Yep. I saw them as well.
I don't know. I'm very open-minded for anyone who's going to say I can find a way to do that joinery without stereotomy. If they can find me a way to get it on the first try, because the thing is with stereotomy is you have to have confidence in your drawing. If your drawing is well made, and then when you trace your pieces on it and you cut your pieces right, it fits on the first try. It's really amazing. That's what I'm saying. You got to have confidence in the whole process. And at the end, when you're raising, which is kind of funny because you're essentially assembling like little pieces, but in real life, it's called the raising of a timber frame. Yeah. Essentially, when you're raising, you're putting all these pieces, and it's like just like magic, like clook. Sometime, if your pieces are not perfectly square, like when you're cutting those small pieces on the table saw, it can be kind of challenging because it's such a small piece that sometimes the saw chews a bit more than it should. Yeah. So sometimes your piece is not perfectly 90 degree or perfectly square. That's kind of the only thing that can tip your joinery. But it's one pass with like a plane, or it's one chisel and boom, essentially you're right there.
You ever think, I think I may have asked you this on the last time that you were here. You ever think someone's going to come crazy enough to think that they can sort of design an AI program or an on-site CNC machine that can do all these cuts for you?
I mean, it's possible.
It's possible that someone could design
It's possible,
a
yeah.
machine like that, right?
Because even with SketchUp, like I use SketchUp for certain things, and it's a amazing program. It's so much faster than hand drafting. Because hand drafting for geometry like this works really well. But when you're hand drafting like a house, and you have, let's just say, 2 lines that needs to be perfectly parallel for, like, you know, a floor plan layout, creating those perfectly parallel line is really hard. Where, like, in a design like SketchUp, you have your 2 points, you're extending those line, they're perfectly parallel for like infinity.
Yeah.
So if you need to take a measurement further along the way, you know it's perfect. For certain things like that, SketchUp is amazing, you know. SketchUp is also amazing because when you zoom in into, let's just say you're building a roof. When you zoom in, the measurements get really precise. When you zoom back, that roof can be, you know, 100 meters tall. It won't change anything. I can't draft something that's 100 meters tall on paper. You can, but it's really, really hard. You need to have a big sheet of paper. And like you said, like if you're just a bit off, like I was when I was doing the Garceau, if you're just a bit off with like the way you're tracing your line because of a shadow or something, which is really, really possible, then that becomes less and less and less accurate.
I mean, I wish that it doesn't happen, because the cause and effect of that, you're going to lose it now in history.
Yeah.
Because nobody will retain it at that point.
Yeah.
They'll just push buttons in and input it, and then a machine will make it, and then you're just someone who's assembling it.
Yeah.
I think you need the craft.
Yeah, you need the craft, and like I said, there's nothing wrong with doing it on the computer, but if you can do it on the computer and if you can do it in real life, this is really where you stand out as a carpenter, and this is really where you can say, hey, I'm truly an expert. And a guy like Patrick can truly say he's an expert, because he can do both. He can do stuff on SketchUp, and he can do stuff, you know, using stereotomy, and other people who have took his class can do it too.
Yeah.
To me, that's really where I can truly say that these guys are masters. When they can do it all. They know how to do it in a computer. They know how to do it in using a lead and a ruler. That's a master to me. So yeah, if you don't want to lose that knowledge, well, I'm sure Patrick is going to be more than happy
he'll
to
continue, and he should continue it. And obviously, maybe one of his students one day will take over, and then they'll teach the class, because I think that this should grow. I think this certain segment of the industry should grow,
and it is
embrace more people.
It is growing in North America, because he's teaching, you know, all these classes in the U.S., here in Canada.
You mentioned that he went down south as well.
Yeah, exactly. He went to Mexico. In Europe, and in France, it's still very prominent. Because when I was in France, the students at the school at the Compagnons de Wall, they were doing this. But at the time, I was 19. You know, level 1 carpenter. I was stupid. I couldn't grasp all of this. Yeah. But when, you know, as somebody has a bit more experience now I get the purpose, and now I can truly say, okay, this is worth, you know, putting a lot of time in.
So what are you seeing, Fred, for the next year? Like, what do you have projects already been presented saying that this is what down the pipe right now? Or
so with Green Build, essentially it's going to be a lot of temple, so finishing the exterior finishes, which are going to be really interesting, because it's going to look really good. You know, a lot of different colors, a lot of different details around the windows, proportion. It's going to be really interesting. So that's for Green Build. And on my side, kind of what I say, my side hustle, it's going to be more stereotomy. Also, I kind of want to learn more. For every book, I read a lot of construction manuals, like a lot of carpentry books, a lot of like things on architecture, design. I always try to read probably like 30 to 20 minutes a day. So in the book that I just gave you, it's a really good one.
Yeah.
So but by now my library is pretty full of them. So I kind of want to learn about more like project management, because in the future, it's kind of a role that I would like to have. I'm in no rush to be a project manager because
You still got to learn a bunch of stuff.
I still have to learn a bunch of stuff, and it's right now. I'm not looking for like the next step. The next step is still building up those skills. I'm not at a point where I'm like, okay, I've done A, B, C, and D. What could be next? Okay, project management. I'm not there yet.
You're still driven by the passion to learn more and learn the existing techniques that are going on right now.
Get more efficient, being able to tackle more complicated projects and tasks, being a bit more independent. And I say independent. It's a bit of a trick. It's a bit of a trick word, because when you're building a timber frame or when you're building something that's really complicated, to tackle it at one guy is kind of not dangerous, but you're almost playing with fire. You want to have your layout check. Like I checked the layout, and I talked about this on the last podcast. I checked the layout for my team lead, who's a master, and 95 to 99% of the time it's right.
Yeah.
But then sometime,
one little thing,
that quarter inch, you can have. It's so easy when you're building all these massive things that are so intimidating. It's so easy your mind is thinking of like a bunch of different things. Let's just say you marked 20 foot on your tape. Oh, you maybe marked 20 and something.
Like
Who knows?
said, you're dealing with millimeters, right?
You're dealing with millimeters, and millimeters can kill you.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting.
So being more efficient, being more skilled, bit by bit, starting to learn more about that phase, still continuing to learn about architecture, still learning more about design. Kind of everything that I'm doing now, just let's carry on.
I like that you're connecting the two, and you're even conscious of it as well, that you're still aware of the modern techniques that you have learned through school starting off and then also on job sites, but that you're respectful of the traditional stuff. And then when you're looking at future projects, you have both sides of that. So you can actually communicate that way, right?
Yeah.
And then also problem solve, no different than your boss who's doing that personal cabin, where he's doing the exact same thing with his cabin that he's working on, which is, I've got a lot of respect for that, because it makes sense, right? I'm a traditionalist. I love the old school stuff of ways of how it was built, but I also love modern technology and how things are put together these days, right?
Me too. Like I love it to enter a home that was built in the 1850s and you're seeing, all these exposed frame, the massive chimney. But also I love to enter a house that was built to, air quotes, modern architecture. And you're seeing like a massive like countertop. It's all these lines that are like perfectly straight, cables for your handrails, some maybe like a metal staircase. I love seeing that too. I really like stuff that is well made and well designed.
Yeah.
Just like anything, it could be like a nice watch. If it's well made and designed, well thought of, I'm going to like it. I just like things that people have really put their attention to it.
So anybody who's listening, they could always go to your Instagram page, take a look at what you're currently working on, see the school techniques that you're going through, reach out to Patrick, definitely start the first course if you're ever interested in trying to expand in your knowledge of timber framing. Yeah. Because you'll learn. I don't think it'll be a waste of time.
Oh, no. It's not at all, right? It's not a waste of time.
Yeah.
It's going to bring you, like a lot of people say like, oh, what is it going to bring for me? And it's like more skills and knowledge. Isn't that what you want? Like,
which equals experiences.
Well, guess what? Now you can do all these things. More money.
That's also a byproduct.
More money for you. Like, exactly. Like if you ask for a raise at the end of the year and your boss says, oh, what did you learn all year? Or have you been progressing all year? And if the answer was, well, I was late, I didn't give a shit all year long.
You know exactly what the answer is going to be.
You know exactly what the answer is going to be. But if you've just pushed yourself and, like I said, millimeter every day, learning, at the end of the year, why not? And essentially, if you go out on your own and you can build this, well, now you're in a different competition level than the other one. Kind of like you said, you're a Formula One driver compared to a guy
parking cars.
T2, a guy who parks car. Exactly. Yeah.
Not dismissing the guys who are valet.
No, definitely not. That was my job at a golf course, so I did.
Was it?
Job. Yeah, exactly.
Did we cover everything?
I think we kind of did. I also want to say, like, I would like to eventually get into teaching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah. Actually, I did replace a teacher 2 years ago who one day I just literally logged into my email. I was still at Algonquin.
Okay.
And I got this email from the campus in Ottawa, and they were like, "Oh, we're looking for a teacher who could teach drafting to level 1 carpenters at the Ottawa campus." I was like, "Okay, I can do that." And follow along, blah 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 blah. Go through the interview, and essentially one teacher got sick, and overnight, essentially, his class needed a teacher, and they were like, "Okay, we need a teacher. Could you be able to come in and teach?" I think it was 8 classes, so the same class, but 8 times.
8 times. Yeah.
But you're gonna have to, you're gonna be brought into a system where like they've done A, B, C, and C, and you're gonna have to take over from what they did,
Yeah. Okay.
and then bring it from there.
Was it easy for you?
It was kind of challenging because at the time I was finishing my 3rd semester for Heritage Carpentry, and it was a semester where there was a lot of like projects, so a lot of stuff going on. And then once a week I would find a time, and on Wednesdays I would go teach for a morning at the Algonquin College, Ottawa campus. And yeah, I was teaching drafting as a 24-year-old. It was kind of like a surreal experience.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
So on the first
But
day,
you knew the knowledge, like you.
yeah, exactly. And it was pretty simple, but drafting is still something that when you correct it, there's a lot of like,
Yep.
there's a lot of things because it's sent through paper. You look at the plans, you have to enter the scores online and everything. But I really like the experience. And what I did, I came at it from a way that like, okay, what did the teachers that I liked did good? And some of the teachers that I didn't like, and we all had some.
Of course.
Like, what did they did that I didn't like? And I liked a teacher who came in, that had energy, but also that when you asked them a question, they answered. They answered, and you knew that they knew the answer. It wasn't just, I don't know, let me check my notes, which sometimes it can happen, but you knew that they knew what they were talking about.
There's thought behind it.
Yeah, there was thought behind it.
Instead of just like knocking down and just expressing the
yeah,
answer.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, like Fred, we got to wrap it up, but
Okay.
I mean, like, how are you finding all this time to do the educational on-site and then figure out what's next in your course in life? Like, how are you finding all the time to do all this stuff?
24 hours in a day.
That's it.
I still sleep.
Just absorb.
I still sleep 7 or 8 hours at night. During the day, it's 8 to 4. On a typical week, it's 8 to 4. Come back.
You get a few hours. You can
Get
learn
a few
something
hours,
online.
exactly. How much time I think the average time people spend on their phone is 4 hours.
Yeah, it's insane.
Okay. I'm still on my phone, but just say, okay, right now I'm going to read for 30
Learn.
minutes. Read for 30 minutes.
Just learn.
Go on your phone, go for a walk after.
Yeah.
Come back. Oh, I have 2 hours. Okay. Work on stereotomy or watch some YouTube videos or, read another book. There you go. You've done hour and a half and it didn't felt like it took your whole night away.
I love it, man.
Organization.
That's all you really need
Yeah.
to do. So again, everybody's Fred Steele, right?
Yeah, Fred Steele Carpentry on Instagram.
On Instagram, and then also reach out. I think we have the same notes from last time you were
Yeah,
here.
exactly.
Email and contact.
Yep.
You didn't do the new 12 questions. Let's quickly do the 12 questions here, and then we can wrap up.
Okay, great.
What everyday sound brings you joy and comfort?
Construction related?
It could be anything.
Actually, the sound of like a chisel being sharpened on a stone. It's kind of it
Soothing.
Yeah, it's kind of like okay, it's gonna be a pretty fun day. It's like a good way to like get your work going for the day.
Yeah, it's basically it's going to be a good day.
Yeah, and it's kind of relaxing. It kind of sounds, for those who don't know it. It just sounds like it's like a stone being passed on metal. So it kind of has like a granular sound. Yeah.
What's your favorite beverage?
Oh man, it's a white Monster energy drink. I know. I'm gonna get so much hate for this, but it's my
White
vice.
Monster?
Yeah,
energy?
white Monster energy drink.
What
Yeah.
flavor is that? I don't know.
Oh, I don't know. Like
I don't drink
poison,
any, so
chemical,
this is what it is.
radioactive. all
What's your
those
least
things.
favorite tool?
Okay, actually, it's a skill saw with a cement blade to cut through cement board.
Yeah, one of those.
I had to cut some yesterday, and the noise is
Screams.
unbearable.
Screams.
Yeah.
What turns you on creatively?
Probably all of this,
Yeah, all
construction
stereotomy, anything, yeah.
geometry, curves, complicated joinery, all those things.
What word or concept do you find overused these days?
Custom.
Custom.
I see custom for everything.
That's not custom.
Yeah, that's not custom. You just change 2 windows. That's not custom.
What's your favorite curse word?
Oh yes, still tabarnak.
Tabarnak. What's your favorite vehicle? Anything in the world?
Oh yeah, it's
Any
still
mode?
yeah, it's still Range Rover, Land Rover Defender, the old school one.
The old school, not the new school ones?
The new are really nice, but I would still prefer the old one.
The new ones feel a little too posh for the reason of a Defender.
Yeah, but they look really good.
They look
You get
great.
some of them with the big wheels.
It's great. They destroyed a bunch of them in the last Bond film.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, those ones. Those ones are really cool.
What do you miss from your childhood?
Probably just, going outside. Like I grew up in a neighborhood where all my friends were,
Outside.
a stone throw away, just being outside and walking in the woods with a BB gun or something.
And some friends who deserved a stone thrown at them.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a different story.
Yeah.
What term or phrase resonates with the core of who you are?
Probably motivated or organized. I think it's a good way to describe me.
If you could master a skill outside of your own expertise, what would it be?
Oh, it'd probably be cooking. I have so much respect, and I know you're a pretty good cook
Yeah,
yourself.
you just start to learn it over
Yeah,
time, right?
Like
So-
when I see a man who can really cook, not just grill some ribs or stuff like that, I'm like, wow, that really impressed me more than like a guy who can.
There's an art in it.
Yeah, more than like a guy who can do like MMA or something. To me, that's like, yeah, that's really cool.
If you could speak with an historical figure, who would it be and what would you ask?
Wow, that's a pretty good one.
Who comes to mind?
Who comes to mind? Damn. I don't
Who's
know.
the grandfather of this stereotomy? Who's the origin?
It's some guy in the Bible. I think his name is Pal Subiz.
Okay.
You would have to ask Patrick Moore.
You probably know it.
He would know, and he's kind of like, I think he's the guy who showed carpentry to Jesus. I think, I think that was Saint
That's
Joseph.
funny. Eh? Everyone always talks about Jesus the carpenter, but they never talk about the teacher.
I think it was Saint Joseph, because when I was in France, the Saint Joseph birthday was considered the birthday for the carpenters. It was like Carpentry Day.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know
So
that. I want to look into that.
Anyways, there we go. Saint Joseph. How was it to teach Jesus? There we go. We just got it.
Last question: if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at those pearly gates?
Oh, same thing as last time. So I'm a big skier. He would say, well, here's a mountain. Have at it for the rest of eternity. Perfect.
Awesome, man. Pleasure seeing you again, man.
Yeah,
thank you so
thank
much
you.
for coming back on the show. You're always welcome to come back. And
Great.
We'll and hopefully Patrick has listened to this, and we'll get him back on the show.
Yeah.
In between his busy schedule.
Yeah,
So we
exactly.
can continue his conversation as well too.
Awesome.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate
Great.
it. Thanks, Fed. All right, we're out of here, Angela.